Former Trump White House Chief of Staff and retired four-star General John Kelly also made the same claims in his newly released interviews.
He's certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
Donald Trump is the only presidential nominee of a major party in the history of this country who has admired Adolf Hitler, the only one.
For anyone still on the fence between a man whose chief of staff said he wished his generals were more like Hitler's and a former prosecutor, district attorney, attorney general, and vice president, MSNBC anchor Lawrence O'Donnell has a few words for them.
Donald Trump's response today to his former White House chief of staff, Marine Corps General John Kelly, quoting Donald Trump's praise of Hitler, was not to deny the words that John Kelly quoted Donald Trump saying. Donald Trump's response was a written statement simply calling John Kelly, quote, a total degenerate. Donald Trump did not issue a statement saying Hitler did not do some good things. Donald Trump could have issued a statement saying that, but he didn't. Donald Trump knows that he has the American Nazi supporters out there who are going to vote for him. Actual American Nazis. Small sliver of Trump voters, but he needs every one of them. Donald Trump knows that he needs every total degenerate American Nazi voter in every swing state to vote for him. And so Donald Trump cannot afford to lose a single one of them. And that's why he refused to condemn Hitler today and only condemned John Kelly. What are the good things? What are the good things that Hitler did?
When you have one candidate, Trump, talking about jailing those who criticize the Supreme Court and using the military to go after the enemies within, in reference to his political opponents, and you have a candidate like Harris who is showing up to the CNN town hall by herself, who is showing up to the 60 Minutes CBS interview by herself and answering real questions, and you have the media critiquing her answers to those real questions. And then on the other side, you have the media failing to call out the really dangerous rhetoric that Trump is using. Now, you could say that they don't know how to cover Trump. But the fact is, he's been around for 8 years and the media has been failing to cover him that whole time. Back in 2016, when they essentially ran his steak ads as if that was part of his presidential campaign, they afterwards said that they realized they gave him too much free airtime. Then in 2020, when Trump told the Proud Boys to stand by and then told all of us on election night in the White House that he was not going to basically accept the election and then incited his insurrection on January 6th, that wasn't covered the immediate urgency that it should have been because he told us what he was going to do. And now we have him again telling us what he's going to do. He plans on using the military in this domestic revenge tour if he gets into office. So why on earth are we both siding these two candidates? Why are we acting as if almost anything Vice President Harris says on policy matters if the other candidate is going to be using the military against its citizens? But the media keeps on acting as if Trump is just another candidate, that he's a serious candidate, that he's a candidate who's going to accept the results of an election, that he's a candidate, if he wins, will not use the military against him. Because if we really believed that that's what he was going to do, which we should, because over all these years, he's told us the kind of person he is and what he's willing to do. Talked about the Muslim ban and he enacted the Muslim ban. He tells us what he wants to do. And again, without any guardrails, he is going to be more likely to be able to do these things. Jake Tapper points this out very well. Let's listen to the clip.
You know, it strikes me what's interesting about the moment we're in right now is that we in the media are treating Vice President Harris like we treat a normal politician, and we're critiquing her answers and we're talking about, well, she could have said this differently. She could have said that differently. Meanwhile, the Republican nominee literally is talking about liberals being the enemy within, talking about using the military to go after these people. His defenders say, oh no, he's talking about going after illegal immigrants, or he's going after mobs in the street. And Trump will say, no. I mean, going after the Pelosi's, going after Adam Schiff, going after Democrats. And these campaigns are in two different universes.
Yep. Now, the number one issue to American voters is usually the economy. It affects people across the board, and it tends to be the reason why somebody votes for one candidate or the other. So let's break down the differences between the two candidates. They have very different ideas for the American economy. In fact, Vice President Harris has a plan that, according to Goldman Sachs, will boost the economy more than Trump. Now, Goldman Sachs is not known as a liberal organization, and yet they have said very clearly that Vice President Harris's plan will boost the economy more than Trump. It is these third-party, nonpartisan organizations looking at these two plans that have shown it again and again that Vice President Harris's plan is better for the economy, is better for the American workers. Bloomberg says the same thing. In fact, they say that Trump's plan would cut GDP by 8.1%, such a significant percentage that it could cause a recession. So why is this? As we know, his plans have two main components. One is tariffs, and the other is deporting millions of immigrants. Tariffs hurt the economy because it's essentially another tax that you put onto goods that are coming into the country. Not only will it make everyday items for Americans more expensive, just as inflation is going down. But when they are spending more on that particular product, there's less money in the system overall, and that brings down the GDP. Now, the other part of his plan is this deporting millions of immigrants. Not only is it really a very hateful and racist rhetoric that he keeps saying, talking about them having bad genetics and blaming pretty much every problem on immigration, as Vance does as well. The fact is that immigrants is like a lifeline for this country. It is what is increasing our GDP, because here in America, people are having less children. That's happening in a lot of countries around the world. But we have something, is that people still want to come here. People want to come from their home countries and travel here for opportunity. They want to become citizens. They want to have jobs. They want to put down roots. And when people do that, our economy grows. It grows so much that the immigrants actually contribute about 11% to the GDP, $3.3 trillion, because of the fact that they are willing to take jobs that maybe we cannot fill otherwise, either because we don't have enough workers or maybe because people don't want to do that particular job. So they're filling jobs, they're paying taxes, they are buying things. This is their contribution to the economy. So much so that we as a country, our economy depends on immigrants in order to continue to lift up our GDP. And we are continuing to lift up our GDP. Our GDP is rising, inflation is going down, and despite Trump trying to say over and over what a mess we're not in a mess. People thought that China was going to overtake our GDP, but it's not. We still have the number one GDP in the world, despite the fact that their population is much bigger. And let's talk about California, evidently this failing state. Well, this failing state has the number 2 GDP per capita in the world, 5th overall. Pretty high, doing pretty well. So the economy, with GDP and inflation, is doing actually great under Biden. No short measure to the CHIP Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, real policies that were enacted under Biden. And according to these nonpartisan organizations, Trump's policies will do the opposite, will bring down our GDP and maybe even bring us into a recession.
When they both gave a plan on manufacturing, the Wall Street Journal hammered President Trump's plan, hammered it. They called it like a deer in headlights. They did, and they actually said Vice President Kamala's plan was friendlier to business.
Well, Katie, you know,
that's your Wall Street Journal.
I'll let you respond to it. I understand that's the Wall Street Journal. I just see what regular folks seem to be thinking and feeling and saying across the country. And I'm not sure they care too much, you know, what the Wall Street Journal's opinion is. But, you know, we're going to see that on Election Day.
So let's move to your second chart about what a Trump plan would actually do to the economy if implemented the way he's pitching it.
Yeah, so why are these economists so opposed to Trump's plan? Because the economic effects would be pretty terrible. This is a study done by Bloomberg Economics, and they found that Harris's plan did not have much change in either the GDP or inflation, which in a sense is a good thing at this point. But look at what Trump's plan would do. Trump's plan would cut the GDP by 8.9%. And let me put that in perspective for you. This is roughly twice the amount that the GDP went down during the financial crisis.
Wow.
So we would be looking at something between a recession and a depression.
It's not surprising that Trump's plan is so bad. The first time around, the only plan he enacted was a tax cut for the rich. He clearly doesn't care about the working class or middle class. And that is really also apparent from his staged McDonald's photo op. And you know who says it best about Musk and his $1 million giveaway and Trump's photo op McDonald's? AOC. Let's take a look.
We see Elon Musk coming in here. I mean, we got to talk about what this guy's doing, right? Yeah. He's not only just dumping millions and millions of dollars here in the state of Pennsylvania, acting like he's from here, acting like he knows what Pennsylvania is about. It's not just what he's doing. He's doing these little, I don't know, these little contests where he's promising people $1 million, you know, in some kind of lottery giveaway if they sign up for his list. And I want us to put together what those two things are like. When you have a billionaire just dangling $1 million to those of us and many of us who are struggling to make ends meet if they dance for him. You've got Donald Trump putting on a little McDonald's costume because he thinks that's what people do. They're not trying to empathize with us. They are making fun of us. They are making fun of us. Donald Trump thinks that people who work at McDonald's are a joke. Elon Musk thinks that dangling money in front of a working person is a cute thing to do when the election of our lives is before us. Because that's what people and billionaires like that do. They have absolutely no idea what our lives are like. And so they think this callousness is a way of connecting. It's not a way of connecting. Because you and I both know that when that camera turns on and they turn around and go into their car, they're laughing at us. They think we are the suckers. And they said that publicly. That's why Elon Musk thinks that your vote can be bought with $1. That's why he thinks that if you put a bunch of money on a mailer and shove it in your mailbox, you'll just do whatever he says. But Pennsylvania, we're smarter than that, aren't we? We don't take orders from billionaires, do we? We don't allow our elections to be bought, don't we? No, we do not. Because we are going to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and send them to the White House.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.